Hello everyone. Well, it looks like the full moon is here. It's October. Halloween is fast approaching. And something else, I guess the final count in, so to speak, early November. For those, some of you might know what I'm talking about. A lot of people are talking about this current event that happens every 4 years or so. But today I'm going to talk about something strange but still grounded in our reality. So a difficult conversation, I shouldn't say difficult conversation, a difficult topic, and some might even think that it's more on the, how should I say this, conspiratorial, paranoid type of gesture, notion, idea. But it's that time of month, so that season for some folks, I guess. And I say, why not? So I'm going to roll with this. So here we go. Now, so what am I talking about, or what am I going to be talking about? So in society, it's not too uncommon to have people say this phrase in some way, shape, or form that, oh, I hate people, right? I can't stand being around people. Or, man, I need a break from people, or something like that. And that's because, well, let's face it, we can be difficult, right? And especially if you're going through some rough times, it can really be, your sensitivity level gets turned up, and difficult people will do a number on your day. So, is there personalities that are more argumentative, more destructive? Instead of building things, they tend to tear down things, right? And I guess it depends on who you ask, but the answer would have to be probably so, right? The DSM-5 in the psychiatric world, they have diagnoses, right? And they don't hand these out willy-nilly, or so the literature says, so they're careful labeling folks, right? But some of those, like the antisocial personality, I'm assuming there would be those argumentative, very taxing on your soul type of, right? And the narcissistic personality, they would also be different, but still taxing on you, I'm assuming, right? So, and by and large, I guess, would they want to be building up others, or building things, building up the community, or trying to tear it down for selfish gain, right? So can we pin this for now? I'm going to set that to the side. So these personalities, let's put that to the side. Now let's go talk to, say, people that maybe because where should I start? Okay. I'm imperfect. You're imperfect. We're all imperfect, right? Our brothers and sisters, our dads, moms, our right? The family, our kids. We quickly, or at least we should, begin to understand that, wow, we're all imperfect. Then you start looking around, and your peers, right? If you're still in school, right? All your classmates, they're imperfect. Your teachers are imperfect. If you're at work, or in the workforce already, your peers are imperfect. Your clients are imperfect. Your customers are imperfect, right? You name it. Your boss is imperfect. We're in a world of imperfect people. But that is normal, right? At least we should consider that normal. And I guess people have to categorize, people like to organize. So I guess there's different degrees of imperfection, I suppose. But some of us have the want, the desire, might I dare say motive, to want to grow for growth's sake, right? To be a better person, to try to build instead of destroy, instead of trying to tear down something to try to build it up. I mean, we have to, believe that some of us do want that. They are, when you begin to categorize, I guess then if you have to put someone in one camp or the other, I guess the pessimistic would say, no, it seems like everyone I can't trust. Not a single person, right? There's 8 billion of us and I cannot trust a single person. Maybe I'm the only one that's trustworthy. Just you? You're the only one that's trustworthy? You're the only one that has somewhat good intentions, good motives? And then I guess the question is, what is good, right? So trying to build up society, trying to help each other out, trying to help each grow in what should we call it? In righteousness. I know righteous has a weird connotation for the atheist crowd, the non-believers, right? They don't know what to do with that word righteous because it implies, it's like opening up a can of worms, especially the argumentative types, right? They're gonna go down to let's right. I got a bone to pick with you now. You mentioned the word righteous. You mentioned the word morals, ethics. But do some people genuinely want to grow themselves, want to help others grow, want to build up society by and large? And you would assume that the more religious, spiritual, right? And I'm talking in honesty here, not the pseudo spiritual, not the pseudo religious, right? I'm talking about, say the genuine Buddhist that wants to grow, right? You're gonna find that they're less argumentative, less towards the destructive modality. They actually want to build. They will, they'll stay out of your way unless they want to help, but they won't go out of their way to, say, push you into the mud, push you into the dirt, right? Put your face on. This channel's not meant for kids, so what the heck? They're not gonna shove your face in shit, so to speak, metaphorically speaking, right? They're right. The Catholic monk, same ordeal, right? They're gonna keep to themselves by and large, and if they're gonna interact with you, it's gonna be in a very pleasant way. I'm assuming by and large, they're gonna want to grow their society towards the highest value, which is, remember, in righteousness. So this is, like I said, whether it's a Buddhist or Christian, right? Not to put one in one box or not. Now, full disclosure, I am a Christian, so yes, my biases will be towards the Christian, and the books I choose to read now, by and large, are grounded in Christian thought and philosophy, because that's what I want to grow more in. Not that I dislike Buddhism. I did study that. It's been over a decade, maybe longer, but that was a thing that I was doing at one point in time, because I did generally wanted to grow. I wanted to learn something that I didn't have, right? And I understood that it had to come from outside of me. And then I began this journey because I was tired of going down a downward spiral, from crashing and burning, from I was tired of that. I was trying to find change, but I said it was going to be a strange, so I did give the preview that it was going to be a strange type of video, right? So I wanted to put this in the context of it's normal, but a sensitive topic. So I kind of wanted to warm you up and kind of to get to what I really want to say. in the most honest way that I understand it, my opinion at the end of the day. So if you disagree, that's okay. If you want to talk to me about this, that's fine. If you want to give it a comment, how you disagree with certain points, that's okay as well. But here's where I'm going to go towards the strange, I guess, the paranoid type of, and full disclosure, I have been working in a lockdown psychiatric unit, so I'm very familiar with hearing many a times paranoid statements from with the actual history and label of. So I know what a real paranoid schizophrenic sounds like when they're not really taking their medications and they really are stuck in a very paranoid delusion, right? And everything in between. So whatever you read in the DSM-5, that's my 9 to 5. That's what I'm familiar with as well, and I have to live in that world for a good portion, right? I still get to come home, I still get to turn that off, and I still get to be in I guess not so delusional, but I do understand that there's where should I start? In our current society, as a matter of fact, globally, there's been, how can I say this? I want to say this with the few words, but to the point that you understand what I'm trying to get at. Like a war on reality, a war on truth. And I don't know how long that war has started, but it's becoming, they push that notion, and I guess it's a good way that they didn't stop at a certain spot, because most people couldn't recognize it, or so I assume, to the point where it's now so obvious that they pushed this. The pendulum had been swinging, right? And when it's neutral, nobody really pushes, nobody really it's like whatever. But now it's gone so far that it's you kind of see it. And before, maybe you wouldn't think, I think you're a little paranoid, okay? Maybe, can we talk about something else, right? Can we change the subject? But nowadays, it's like people are bringing it up, right? You don't even have to bring it up. They just say, did you hear about that? And they're like, what you think about this, right? So it is becoming an everyday conversation. So where am I going with this? So, well, there is a type of person out there. So there's 8 billion of us. So I hate to just categorize a certain type of person into just one little, like with one word, just say, okay, a lot of people are falling to this, but because I know there's 8 billion of us and not everyone's the same, and even in identical twins, they would have their own personality. So within the family, even though they share the same parents, there's still a different personality, right? So nonetheless, I'm going to say this phrase, and I know you're going to, something's going to happen inside your mind when I say this word, the con artist. Maybe you've experienced them, maybe you've been had before, and I think in reality, once you get to be my age, in somewhere in the 40s, right, mid 40s, maybe more, I'll just maybe leave it not so specific, but there you go. Once you begin to have gray hair in your goatee, by then, like I said, if you haven't been had, then you're very, very lucky, and maybe those rare individuals. Maybe you are the exception, or maybe you are like the outlier. Maybe you're like the top 5%, like in the highest of when it comes to intellectual knowledge, IQ, and emotional IQ, you're also way up there. And then in the moral and ethical IQ, you're also there. And you got very perceptive to where you can kind of see the world and how it works and how we try to work within it, and all this. Because let's face it, how many countries do we have? A couple hundred, under, give or take. So within those countries, there's governments and local governments, right? So you have vicinities, right? Municipalities, right? So you have the counties, the cities, right? So it scales up, right? So, but they all have, how can I say it? So there's power and power scales, and at a lower scale, certain people control only this section, but not the higher section. So it goes up in power. So power and wealth, and that, whether we want to consider it, because nobody wants to talk about politics and religion and philosophy, but the world works and has worked under people in higher offices making decisions that affect a lot of people, and there's a lot of power plays. So okay, and before our modern borders where they appeared on a map and there's not an actual wall separating this country from that country, this state from that state, this city from that city, right? There's no walls, right? It's not like the castles, they're all the walls, right? There's none of that. Our modern times is just imaginary lines, imaginary borders from town to town, right? We don't have to worry, Attila and the Huns are coming, right? Oh, it's a good thing when we have this big old wall, right? The Great Wall of China, the Huns are coming, right? So I'm gonna pause here to go on an aside real quickly, because why not? Silly mood, and it's going to be a weird conversation eventually. So in a previous video I mentioned about going into the book of Revelation and how the end has come again and again and again, because for century after century after century, those people read the Christian aspect, right? This notion about the end is coming, the end is coming. It came. Those people perished. One way or another, the end came, right? From a fever, Spanish flu, more current, right? What am I talking about? The Spanish flu. Oh, it's in town now. Whoops. Right? You heard about it. Maybe you got a message, or right? It just plays out, and it's coming, and it's coming. Here comes Attila. Here comes the Huns. Here comes Napoleon. Here comes Hitler. Right? Here comes the next war. Right now, currently, the world, certain countries are at war. They're encroaching on other people's territory. The end will come as a fractal, as a pattern that just keeps on repeating itself. So I just wanted to say that. Why not? So back to where it was, this notion about the con artist. You don't really find that in the DSM-5. You find that in psychology textbooks. There are some psychologists that have written about it, talk about it. There's some podcasts out there, but so now I'm going to pivot here to go into the more strange conversations, maybe the ones that most people don't want to talk about because they don't. Let's face it, people will look at you weird when you start saying these things. But come on, the con man is real. If you've been living long enough, you will hear about someone getting had, or you yourself you don't even know what happened until it happened, and then they're off to another town and they're gonna do it to somebody else, and they do what they do. And the reason why they're able to get away with this, because one, they're really good at what they do, and two, they're really smart. And the smarter they are, and the more they perfect their skill, the more effective they are, and the more they, there you go. So, I guess if you want to read more about, it might take some time, but maybe you'll make it I know. So Halloween is almost here, the election's almost here, then it's Thanksgiving for people in America, and then it's the New Year's. Oh wait, I skipped Christmas, Hanukkah, right? Yom Kippur. So I'm going to stop here to go back about the Book of Revelation again. I'll go back to the con man and the books, but if you allow me a quick aside rabbit trail here. The Festival of Lights, the Maccabean revolt, because it could not tolerate what Antiochus Epiphanes IV, I believe. So this person created a lot of havoc and torment for the Jewish folk at a specific time, which was, okay, if you want to bookmark, or if you want to jot this down, because like I said, alright, in the Book of Revelation. So, but now we're not talking about the Book of Revelation, but we're talking about Jewish Festival of Lights, Hanukkah, Maccabean Revolt, Antiochus Epiphanes IV, a type of Antichrist doing this abomination of desolation that is mentioned. Where did it begin? One was first mentioned in the book of Daniel, so this was before Christ. And then, because I know some Christians think that what happened in 70 AD, remember, after Hanukkah, right? Daniel, Hanukkah, before, so after the revolt, the Maccabees won, right? They took Antiochus Epiphanes or whomever, right, wasn't doing that. And then 70 AD is after the Festival of Lights. And some Christians say, wait a minute, these are like fractal patterns that they sound like it like, right, Antiochus Epiphanes sounding like the Antichrist, the abomination of desolation mentioned in Daniel, which Jesus warned about. But Jesus warned about after Antiochus Epiphanes, after Daniel. So it wasn't Antiochus Epiphanes. But if you really compare what happened in 70 AD, that person in the temple, there's no comparison. So Antiochus Epiphanes couldn't be the full fulfillment of what Jesus meant, and it couldn't be the full fulfillment, in my opinion, of what happened in 70 AD, because it sounds like it's a combination of both. So maybe, just maybe, there's a possibility. We can't be 100% sure, but maybe this is still future. Maybe. Again, if you want to, like I said, make it a New Year's resolution as far as the things you want to study. I say study what the abomination of desolation that Daniel talks about and that Jesus mentions, which is supposed to be future, and then study the comparison between Antiochus Epiphanes IV and what happened in 70 AD, and see if you actually were to combine the two, then you're thinking maybe that would be closer to fulfilling it, which means maybe it hasn't been fulfilled yet. Just like Joseph is not the perfect Christ, but Christ is a perfect representation of what Abraham was, who Joseph was, who Moses was, right? So it's like close but not quite, close but not perfect, close but not perfect. Same way, in my opinion. Again, it's my opinion that maybe that's still future for some future generation. Maybe. To say it was going to be on the paranoid, conspiratorial, maybe. All right, so now back to where I was with the con artist, the con man, not really in the DSM-5. You're not going to be like, well, there's my diagnosis. All right, let's be in treatment. No, that's not. No. Usually they're in the wind. There you go. Who was that? I don't even know their real name. They con me. Who knows, right? So this is where I'm going to pivot to the books that I'm going to suggest. If you want to, is completely optional. As far as going down the rabbit hole for your future New Year's resolution, whatnot, if you want to do something, you want something new to do, you're kind of getting bored, well, why not? After all, PBK, there's no Friday live stream. He's going to be doing a estuary, and that he says maybe for 2 weeks. So there you go. So maybe you got some time to ponder, like, what am I going to be doing this Friday? Maybe if you want to consider a project for your New Year's resolution, or maybe some other books which you haven't read, or some notions, just food for thought. It's optional. All right, so I'm going to change this here because I want to pivot to the books. And the one that I really recommend, this Maria Konnikova has written some books, and this one is specifically to the con artist, and some real life examples of people who have been had by these people. And I tell you, I will read, this is an audiobook, so I do read some books only when I have to nowadays, because I like to be hands-free, because when I'm doing chores, I wish I didn't have so many chores, but it is what it is. So there you go. So plan B is the audiobook. So this is an audiobook that I'm going to re-listen to in the future, because I just want to not have those memories gather dust where I can't even retrieve them. I want to bring them to the forefront. So, wow, the con man is real, folks, and they're hard to spot because they're good at what they do. I'll just leave it at that. You don't have to believe me, but if you're curious, pick up the book. All right, the next one is God Saad. He is, I believe, he still is a Canadian professor, and I believe he teaches, I could be wrong, my memory is not the greatest, but I believe he teaches evolutionary psychology, perhaps. I think that's what, and he is, he's in Canada, so he's got an uphill battle. This is one of those audiobooks that I will re-listen to, because again, I want to bring these back into the forefront of my memory. I don't want them to just, I cannot bring them to mind. I wish I could remember more, but it is what it is. All right, the next one is by Brian Klaas, and this notion of power and corruption and the real life examples. Like I said, another book that I will re-listen to, is worth listening to. And I tell you, that's why I kind of wanted to bring the introduction as far as all the governments in the world right now, past and present, and that they are, there will be a new election, right? And someone's going to want to take over, say, no, I want to do this, I got a better idea, I want this, I want that, I want status, power, whatever, control, make new rules, you name it, whatever it is. But from the smallest to the biggest, and the whole, the leaders, those that have power, real power, and perceived power, whatever you want to call it. Like I said, a worthwhile book in my opinion. So there you go. Santa, can you put that in the stocking? Thank you very much. And that idea, I guess Santa Claus is another notion that's the myth from the real. And because I know, I guess I will go on a quick rabbit trail, because man, the TLC, all the conversations and all the stuff from Jordan Peterson and everybody else, and the people that they interview, and it's this Joseph Campbell, the myths and how they keep, the truth behind the myths, because they're grounded on actual, in my opinion, how we function, how we treat each other. There's a reality to that. And yeah, I do believe that we're creatures of habit, and just like psychiatrists give a diagnosis based on meeting that criteria, right? If you exhibit these patterns over and over and over and over, you are going to get a label, a diagnosis, so they can hone in the treatment, right? That's the whole concept, or so they say. So anyways, Corruptible by Brian Klaas. Put it in the stocking. This one is this whole concept of a fear, the lack of fear, or to be overwhelmed with fear, right? Because some of us we're somewhere in the middle, because fear is natural to people, because you need fear to survive. And there's a notion that, so close your ears if you're sensitive, the psychopath really is very, very, I don't want to say devoid of fear, but pretty close to it. And I'm going to use a biblical story to maybe, in my opinion, to understand how that comes about, if there is such a thing. From a Christian, remember, I gave you the disclosure from a Christian perspective. So when Moses is talking to the Pharaoh, there's this notion, because God has to bring about these 10 plagues, because the Pharaoh is very stubborn, and this phrase gets repeated over and over about what is that? So what does the Pharaoh say over and over? And he hardened Pharaoh's heart, right? It's like Pharaoh doesn't get it. He's not going to let them go. He's going to double down. And God brings forth another plague. And instead of the Pharaoh yielding, right? Because the Pharaoh has all this power, and he's got a lot of sway, and what he says goes, by and large, right? And he won't give in. He will not yield. And it says that the God hardened Pharaoh's heart. Now, could it be that the process of how you get to full psychopath, right? In my opinion, I could be wrong. I'm not an expert, but I am going to give you a layman's opinion. So let's put a pin here to give you another rabbit trail, to give you a metaphor. Maybe I'll connect these dots here. Spare me, if you'll be gracious enough. So in physical therapy, there's a notion, use it or lose it, right? With the muscles. And when people are under, let's say they experience a coma and they're out for, say, 2 months. At this point, their muscles have been wasting away, and physical therapy does this to move their muscles to try to preserve, as whatever they're going to try to, flexibility, muscle, all that kind of stuff, but they will lose, right? The people that are in a coma for a month, they're not just going to get out of bed and going to start running, right? They're going to lose a lot. It takes time, doesn't happen overnight, but they will lose muscle over the course of time. So could it be that in the same way, the psychopath begin over the course of time to begin to lose function of their conscience? That's why they feel no remorse, the fear, because they double down and they reject God maybe more and more to the extreme, where they no longer fear God, to be like, yep, I'm going to say he doesn't exist, so I'm going to do the most worst and the most harm without even fearing the consequences. And if the psycho doesn't get caught, I guess in a world where God doesn't exist, the psychopath got away with it, right? Could it be that they push it to the limit where they lose all fear? I don't know. It's just my unprofessional. I'm not the profession. I'm not. It's not a professional opinion. Just your layman's opinion on how do you get from one point to the other, like losing all muscle tone or mostly all your muscle mass from, say, if you're in a coma for a month and then you come out of it. Well, you can't just run out of the room. That's in concept. I don't know, but anyways, this is a wonderful book as far as the whole extreme about fear, too much fear, not enough fear, and what it does, and all this stuff. And they do talk about psychopaths in there, so there you go. The Status Game is another book that I will re-listen to, and is one that I do suggest if you want to ask Santa to put it in your stocking. You know, the books that you haven't got to maybe in 2025, right? Because, and it talks about, this author, Will Storr, they're very good at what, this book is very well-rounded, and they give you the background, all of it. It's very well laid out. Like I said, I am gonna re-listen to it, and it's worth getting to know the information in there. And like I said, and I will get to my point as soon as I go through my my suggestions for books in your stocking for Santa, so you can, for as part of your New Year's resolution for 2025, as far as books you haven't got to for next year. There you go, something like that. Now, this one by Peter. Is Peter? Yes, Peter Berger. He's written a few books. I've listened to a few of his books. That's where I got the notion of the sociology of knowledge. And he does a wonderful book putting it all together. Now, I know that in our current time, in late 2024, sociology has evolved to this weird, well, like, whoa, don't tell me about what your current sociologist is telling me, because I know my son took a sociology class. It's kind of like the college credit, like he's still in high school, and I was making sure he was doing the reading, so kind of like, what are you guys reading? What are you guys, like, and I got to see what the notion, because I did take a sociology class in college, but like I said, I'm seeing how what it's morphing into. But this one is from older times, and like I said, less political, but he does mention politics, because again, it does affect how the social structure. But anyways, the social, not from a Christian point of view, but still worth knowing, the social construction of reality. Like I said, it's one that I will reread. I'm currently reading another one of Peter Berger's books, because I do think he is worth reading his info. There's a lot of my on my queue that are, I guess I'm just waiting for more free time to get to. There's a lot of good books out there, just not enough time. But one that I will read. Now, at some point in time, I'm going to have to just stop and say, all these other books that I haven't got to, I'm just going to have to just have them collect dust for a while, because I want to re-listen to these, because I think I don't want to lose, because like I said, my memory just, like, I can't, there's some good notions and I forget the particulars, and I want to bring them back into my forefront, so I can utilize their information more readily. And there's a lot of psychology of personality textbooks out there, and this one is older. And there was a point in time where if you had to give a reference in science, it had to be newer, or it was like no longer good. But nowadays, the way the way the ideas, the way the philosophy, the way the perception, the distortion, if you'll grant me that usage of word, the distortion of reality has been twisted for political gain, for whatever you want to call it. I don't want to go down that rabbit trail. I know I've been going on a few detours, but I don't want to go down there. I just want to say this one is an older book, but to be honest, I no longer have qualms about using older textbooks, and I am not going to replace this one with a newer textbook on personality psychology by professors. And this has a truck full of content of human behavior, which, because of where I work, I'm all over that. I've been all over that for several years now, and because of it, I have pushed other books to the side and saying, well, I will get to you later. Another one that I do, will go through it again. I do recommend. This is the DBT that is on audio, as an audio version. It also comes in the Spanish translation in the book. Whenever there's some people in the Spanish language that I want to say, hey, check this out, hand them a Spanish copy. The one that are licensed social workers that are being trained and signed off to do the DBT skills, they use another one, and I will reference that one. I actually have the cards of that by the same author, but this one is the actual book that is an audio book, so I'll give this a reference in case you want to, if you are like me that prefer the audio. But anyways, and this is the one that I have the textbook and in the electrical version, not in the actual audio, because they don't make it in the audio version is not available. I do have the worksheet, the workbook in electric version, and I want to reclaim. Sorry, wrong word. I said something that wasn't true. I said that there was 3 sections of this. My mistake. It's 4 sections. These 52 cards are breaking down into 4 sections. And I think I caught a video so I'm gonna put a pin here to go on a rabbit trail. I saw a PVK video today, or maybe it was Christian Baxter. Sorry, I've been watching some older videos, so maybe it's an older video. Maybe it's from Stephen D20, and when he was mentioning, maybe that's where it was from. He was talking to, maybe because I saw both the video from Christian Baxter and where PVK is talking about that stream with D20, Stephen D20, and he mentioned about before the whole concept about General Glenn Grizz and how he does the cards, and 52 cards, 4 of them. So I guess you can assign these. I'm not going to. If somebody else wants to, you're more than welcome to. I won't. 4 different sections. So I guess you can have one be the diamonds, the hearts, the clubs, that kind of thing. So 52 cards, 4 sections. But so I'm gonna go back to where I'm heading. Hopefully, I will try to get to it quicker. I know PVK always hates it when I ramble on, and he wants me to get to the point. But anyway, so I do listen, PVK. So I'm trying to grow. So be patient with me, folks. So anyways, these 4 notions, because I've been on this, and it started before I started working in the psychiatric unit, because I, like I said, back in the day, when I was an early Christian, when I was a baby Christian, when I was only drinking milk as food. As a matter of fact, I wasn't even drinking milk. Let's say I would drink a sip of milk once a year. That's not enough to sustain anybody. So it was no wonder I was struggling so much as a Christian, wanting to be a Christian and botching it so much. And I did ask God, please help me grow. Help me see what I need to see. Put me where you want. And at one point in time, I did ask Catholic priest, because I guess my stupid me when I was, well, still stupid me now, but stupid me when I was younger, where where you're with your dad and you don't want to ask him for advice because you still have a grudge, because you're still mad at him, right? And you know that he wants to help you, right? He wants to move past the past. He wants to let the past be the past, but you're the one that doesn't want to drop it, and you're like, right? So you don't ask for advice. So yes, I didn't ask my dad for advice when I was like in my late teens, early 20s, and I was struggling. And so the last person that I saw myself asking for advice, I was so broken that I went to my I don't want to call him, claim him, but yeah, I guess I did go to mass here and there, so I guess he was my Catholic priest. He probably didn't know my name, but still, I went to my Catholic priest and I told him, Father, I'm struggling as a Christian. I want to change. I just don't know how. And I told him how I had gone about changing and not. So he finally says, Alex, I guess he didn't know. When I go back, I guess he didn't know my name. So he says, Alex, it sounds like you tried everything and you're young and you don't have kids and you're not married. So what about you trying something bold and something completely different, something you haven't considered? So he gave me the notion about, how about you move to a different state? How about you move something different where you don't know anybody and you start all over, and you are very careful in selecting your new friends, so you can begin a new journey. Maybe now you will actually have Christian friends and they will help you grow as a Christian, and maybe you can finally be closer to being a Christian than what a non-Christian person looks like, because I was pretty much resembling a non-Christian person than a Christian. So there you go. That was what I wanted to achieve. It's like, I want to be like Christ, but I just can't do it for the life of me. So long story short, I took his advice and I moved out of state and I began anew. And I'm so glad I'm so glad I went to the priest and I asked him for the advice, because it did work. I began my life over, and I guess, am I really born again? I guess one day I will find out when I'm in front of Christ. I will find out if I'm allowed in, or if he discards me and says, depart from me, you doer of iniquity, I never knew you, right? So I will find out. We will all find out. The day will come. Every knee will bow. That's the Christian. We all know that. It's in the scripture. But anyways, so I will go back to where I was going. These DBT skills are to help change. Even as a Christian, it's like, how can I know what I want to do, but I just end up doing the wrong thing, end up saying the wrong thing, end up hurting those that love me, right? I end up losing my job over, you name it. I've been there, done that many a times, right? So it's like, how do you change when you want to change? Well, I guess you can go as a Christian pastor, priest, bishop, you name it. You can start there, Christian therapist, why not? Right? If you want change, you can't change. In distress, you can get better at tolerating distress. You could get better at interpersonal effectiveness. And then what's the other one? Being more better at mindfulness and right, the theory of mind, knowing you, knowing others, and how this all works, and knowing the Christian thought and how we should be. Easier said than done, right? And then emotional regulation. Yeah, we can be better at that, right? So this is where I wanted to land. The book that I want to recommend that I heard by many people. I think Jay Dyer. I think I heard him recommending this years ago. When I used to listen to him more, I hardly ever listen to him now. He did recommend it, to user illusion, and I think most recently, Jordan Peterson mentioned it. So now I will mention it. The user illusion. There is a section there that talks about when sociology or psychology or both, when they were studying subliminal messages and how they influence people without the conscious. So you don't really know how that influences you, but it does influence you. Now you can find this literature from them, from the professionals that because they were like, is this really ethical, right? They were actually debating that back when you can actually debate such topics, whether it was ethical to use subliminal messages to influence people without them knowing. So in the Christian worldview, there is the notion about powers and principalities, and how we don't battle against. The war is not about the flesh and blood. It's about the spiritual power players, movers and shakers and influencers in the spiritual realm. So how does that? Is it psychological? Is that how it seeps into our world? So let me bring it to something that you might be familiar with. It seems like everybody in the TLC knows about Adam and Eve story, where Eve encounters a serpent. And this is what I don't hear. This is what I don't see. So remember, with the illusion and the manipulation, distortion, influencing people, and not, like I said, some of my videos I mentioned about the experiments in psychology, more recent, and about conformity and the shock experiments and the authority figures and how they influence us and all that kind of stuff. So you can dig that up. I don't have too many videos, when Eve encounters the serpent, this is what I don't read. I don't read that serpent punched Eve and started hitting her and threw her on the ground and started twisting her arm to say, okay, now do you want to eat? Now are you ready now? Is this enough pressure, pain, torment, so that you will eat the fruit? Is that how it went down? No. That is not how it went down. It wasn't by violence. It wasn't by force. Though we do experience force and violence in this world, but that's not where I'm going. I'm talking about the powerful players, so we don't battle against flesh and blood from a Christian perspective, right? Powers and principalities in the spiritual realm. How did Eve eat the... That's right. How did she do it? Why did she do it? The whole notion, just by saying those, are you sure? Is that really what God said? Notice that created, those were words, those were ideas. You think words and ideas are not powerful? You don't think they influence and have been influenced the world? You don't think philosophies and how philosophies morph? You don't think Nietzsche, you don't think he brought about change and influence for good or bad, whatever your perspective is? You don't think Lacan, Foucault, I'm mispronouncing these names, these French new philosophers, the old ones, right? Even the saints, right? Saint Augustine. You don't think they changed the world? You don't think Martin Luther, what he did, for good or bad, right? You don't think when people were teaching the gospel, supposedly teaching you the Bible, supposedly in Latin, and you didn't speak Latin, you don't think that was gonna be deceptive in some way, shape, or form, right? I mean, it's like, the whole... Sorry, I am going to go into the... I'm just going to go there. So, the kingdom of heaven is like, said Christ, right? About the mustard seed, and about this mustard seed that will grow into this bush that appears, so big that that birds, and some people saying, birds are not kind of like good characters, and the icon and what they represent is like, is that, anyways, I know. I came from Catholicism, and I don't say that to it's impossible to have these conversations without bringing history, and I don't mean to do that. Like I said, I still listen. Like I said, I still listen to Bishop Barron because I've changed my... I'm very limited with free time, so I have to just be like, okay, I'll have limited time. So lately it's been Bishop Barron. There's been other Catholic influencers that I've Christian perspectives, because I still listen to Calvinist, non-Calvinist, people that believe in the millennium, all millennial, pre-trib, post-trib. I don't shy away from that, because I've also studied the people that study cults and all that stuff, and I do want to be flexible, and I don't want to. In nursing, they also taught us to use the whole concept of critical thinking. So I still want to be continual to the whole concept of iron sharpens iron. So, anyways, this has been a long enough ramble. So, the user illusion. How do we defense against the dark arts? I see my memory. You know who I'm talking about, right? The defense against the dark arts. The professor. He's also Catholic. He's in the corner. First name begins with a K. I know him and Grimm. They're doing this as far as defense against the dark arts, and Harry Potter. This has myths and metaphors and what they represent. I know. Like I said, people in the corner. So, anyways, long enough rambling. So, maybe this is where I should leave it. So, is the conman real? What did they look like? If you encounter one, would you be able to tell sooner rather than later so you're not had? Are psychopaths real? Right? Hopefully we never encounter one. The people that have been, maybe they may not be diagnosed as antisocial personality. The people that are really going to be very, very difficult to deal with, the people that really want to destroy and tear down, and the Machiavellians, they're really extremely egocentric and for gain, and that's why people are cautious, and they're not so easy to trust people, and for good reason, right? And there's a cost to being vulnerable. There's a cost trusting people and getting into relationships, because we're all imperfect and we're all gonna let each other down, and we're all gonna be nice if people wouldn't break promises, if they wouldn't let you down. That is the world we live in. But anyways, we're days away from Halloween. Full moon is here. The election's almost here, and I know the Rudy Lynch, he's been I think I mentioned him earlier, and because he mentioned Mouse Utopia, and because that involves a psychological experiment, and I heard it before on Timcast, and I now just recently Rudy Lynch from What If Alt Hist was on Timcast, and he mentioned, I don't want to say that word, but anyway, so I'm going to pivot here with what I mentioned earlier in my last video about the coincidence about me going through our church our lead pastor going through the Book of Revelation, the youth pastor with their kiddos going through the Book of Revelation, and as a coincidence, Pete, Strange Theology in the corner, he's currently going through the Book of Revelation. And so, from my point of view, as far as, yes, these will not, right, until all will fulfilled in this generation, we'll see the whole concept about this generation. In every generation, for the last, say, at least minimum 18 centuries, the end came for them, right? They perished. The end will come, and it keeps on coming, and right, 150 years from now, we will no longer be here. In the end is going to come for me and for you and for all of us, and the end does come. So anyways, did I say that Halloween is really close? Yeah, there you go. So currently going through the Book of Revelation, and these there's certain ideas that you just can't, the whole, when you kiddos, when they, what's the concept behind the Antichrist and the mark of the beast, and right, and then Thessalonians, Corinthians, and Timothy, and the whole concept about, and then, like I said, if you haven't studied the whole notion where Hanukkah, the Book of Maccabees with Antiochus Epiphanes, and the Abomination of Desolation, that was after Daniel but before Christ. No. Was it after Christ? So no. Sorry, I'm confused myself. So it was Daniel, Christ, Book of Maccabees, 70 AD. Is that how it is? And it might still be future because it's not quite its fullest fulfillment, in my opinion. Because why not? That notion, right? For Halloween, there you go. Watch that movie. Right? If it's not really been fulfilled to the T, might it be coming this generation, next generation, in another 100 years, in another 1,000 years? Who knows? Maybe, maybe not. Anyways, I told you I heard different interpretations. So, and I will be. I will take the opportunity, before I sign off, I will mention one more book. The Book of Revelation, 4 Views by, I just blanked on his name, I had it, non-Calvinist broke away from the Calvary Chapel movement. Steve Gregg, by Steve Gregg, mentions the Four Views. Again, another book for your Christmas stocking, if you want. Just a thought. Anyways, Alex Luna for De Sol a Sol. Until next time, I guess I'll leave it at that. It's been long enough. So, till next time.